Jungle.
Welcome to State of Affairs Zimbabwe. Today we dive deep into a heated political story shaking the nation and the ruling party itself. Reports, rumors, and reactions are spreading fast as ZANU-PF faces mounting criticism and internal whispers about extending President Emerson Mnangagwa's term beyond 2028. The move has been described by critics as a veiled attempt to block Vice President Constantino Chiwenga's path to power, while party loyalists insist it's purely about national development and Vision 2030 continuity. But as we'll explore today, the story is far more complex, and the tension between Mnangagwa and Chiwenga's camps seems to be reaching a quiet boiling point inside the corridors of power. Recently, ZANU-PF national spokesperson Christopher Mutsvangwa addressed the growing storm in a fiery interview. He firmly dismissed claims that Mnangagwa's bid to stay longer in office was meant to block Chiwenga or that the vice president had ever been promised leadership. He made it clear, Chiwenga is not automatically entitled to succeed Mnangagwa. In his own words, Mutsvangwa said there's no law in Zimbabwe's constitution that gives the vice president an automatic right to take over the presidency. He can declare his candidacy like anyone else, go through the election process, and let the people decide. The statement may sound democratic, but it also sent shockwaves within ZANU-PF's inner circle, as it appeared to be a direct challenge to those who believe Chiwenga was part of the Liberation-era pact that brought Mnangagwa to power in 2017. Mutsvangwa went further, reminding the nation that Zimbabwe is not a papacy, not a secret cabal where successors are chosen behind closed doors. He said this country is a democracy and people vote for leaders. No one gets anointed. But in political circles, those words were interpreted differently. Some saw them as a public warning to Chiwenga's loyalists, especially the ex-military elites and war veterans who feel it's his turn to lead after standing by Mnangagwa during the 2017 coup that ousted Robert Mugabe. Behind the scenes, political analysts believe the tension between the two camps has been simmering for months. Mnangagwa's supporters reportedly want to amend the constitution so he can serve until 2030, aligning with Vision 2030. However, Chiwenga's allies inside the party, mostly those with military backgrounds, believe this is a betrayal of an informal promise that Mnangagwa would serve 2 terms and then hand over power. According to whispers from inside the Politburo, Chiwenga has been quietly building influence among the provincial structures and military veterans who still hold sway in party politics. While Mutsvangwa's statements were meant to clarify, they have instead fueled more speculation. Observers note that every time ZANU-PF leadership tries to shut down succession talk, new rumors emerge. Rumors of factional meetings, of secret alliances, and even of possible reshuffles that could weaken the vice president's position before 2028. Some say Mnangagwa's inner circle wants to promote loyal figures in the military and intelligence sectors to prevent any political surprise when the time comes. Others whisper that Chiwenga's allies are regrouping, possibly waiting for the right moment to assert his leadership claim. President Mnangagwa, on his part, has often stated publicly that he respects the Constitution and will step down in 2028. But the timing of the recent conference resolution has raised eyebrows. The official narrative says the term extension aligns with Vision 2030, the government's plan for Zimbabwe's economic and social transformation. Yet, opposition activists and civil society groups argue that this move is an attempt to entrench power and delay a generational change in leadership. Former cabinet minister Saviour Kasikuwere, once close to both Mnangagwa and Mugabe, didn't hold back. He said Mnangagwa's attempt to extend his rule is a path to disaster, and that greed will ultimately destroy the presidency and the country. These words came just days before police disrupted a public event organized by opposition figures Tendai Biti, Job Sekala, Munyaradzi Gwisai, and Jacob Ngarivume, a campaign meant to resist the proposed constitutional amendment. The event, hosted at the Sapes Trust in Harare, was stormed by police officers, and later that night, the venue was petrol-bombed by suspected state agents. The message was clear. Dissent would not be tolerated, but the crackdown only emboldened the opposition. Job Sikala, recently released from detention, told reporters that Zimbabweans should not panic, and that the opposition will continue to resist what he called a dictatorship in panic. He declared that the state's overreaction proves how insecure the government has become as the debate over succession grows louder. Meanwhile, within ZANU-PF, divisions appear to be deepening. There's growing talk of a silent power struggle between what insiders call the ED camp and the generals camp. The ED camp reportedly includes influential business figures and regional loyalists who benefit from stability under Mnangagwa's rule. The generals camp, however, includes liberation-era military figures and some younger politicians who see Chiwenga as a strong leader capable of bringing discipline and restoring the liberation legacy. Several unconfirmed reports suggest that senior figures sympathetic to Chiwenga are being quietly reassigned or marginalized to weaken his influence before the next Congress. The controversy has also drawn international attention. Kenneth Mantada from the World Council of Churches warned that the proposed extension could backfire badly for Zimbabwe's image abroad. He said it would damage trust with international partners, scare away investors, and undo the limited progress made toward re-engagement since 2017. He added that if Mnangagwa pursues the extension, it could lead to political violence and social division similar to the tensions of the early 2000s. Reopening old wounds. Beyond the official statements, rumors are circulating that foreign diplomats from SADC and the African Union are quietly monitoring the situation. There's talk that some Southern African leaders have advised Mnangagwa privately not to push too hard for a third term, fearing it could trigger instability in Zimbabwe and ripple effects across the region, particularly in South Africa, where millions of Zimbabwean migrants already reside. Inside South Africa, the political debate is heating up too, as rising anti-immigrant sentiment mixes with criticism of Zimbabwe's leadership. Some analysts warn that continued uncertainty in Harare could fuel xenophobic tensions in South African townships. Adding another layer of complexity are reports from the diaspora, where many Zimbabweans feel the leadership extension is a sign that ZANU-PF is unwilling to pass the torch to a younger generation. Social media platforms are filled with videos and commentaries from activists abroad, demanding transparency and fresh leadership. But ZANU-PF's loyal media continues to frame the move as a matter of stability, arguing that Mnangagwa's experience is essential for seeing Vision 2030 through. In recent weeks, there have also been whispers of possible retribution against those seen as sympathetic to Chiwenga. Some security chiefs reportedly face reassignment or early retirement, while others are said to be under quiet surveillance by the intelligence wing. It's not the first time Zimbabwe has witnessed such internal maneuvering, but this time the stakes seem higher. Analysts believe both camps are aware that the next few years could determine not only the country's political future, but also their personal survival within the system. As this story continues to unfold, the question remains, will President Mnangagwa honor his earlier promise to step down in 2028? Or will the party's conference resolution mark the beginning of a constitutional and political battle that divides the ruling elite even further? For now, the public debate continues to grow, with citizens, church leaders, and opposition figures warning that history could be repeating itself, a familiar story of power, loyalty, and control in Zimbabwe's long political journey. As we close today's deep dive, one thing is clear. The road to 2028 and possibly 2030 is shaping up to be one of the most unpredictable chapters in Zimbabwe's modern political history. Behind every speech, every denial, and every slogan, there are power plays, ambitions, and alliances quietly shaping the future. Whether this is about continuity, control, or succession, Zimbabwe once again stands at a political crossroads. This has been your host on State of Affairs Zimbabwe. Stay tuned, subscribe, and keep your eyes open. Because in Zimbabwean politics, what's said publicly often hides what's really happening behind closed doors.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.